Open the meeting. We'll open the meeting and I'll just do the approval of the abstract first. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes. And then next up, we have the Cuba Lake watershed folks. Stand and deliver. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Roxy Johnston. I'm the chairperson for the Key Lake Watershed Intermunicipal Organization, or CLEO, much shorter, easier to remember. First of all, thank you for giving us time on your agenda tonight. Isaac and I are making the rounds in the municipalities in the watershed to update you on CLEO's work, partly because you get new board members from time to time and they may not be familiar with us. Also, I want to update you on our change in our dues goal. And in case you haven't met your watershed manager yet, you can meet Isaac here tonight. Yeah. So the first thing I want to point out about CLEO is that we work on a watershed level. And our main focus is to help municipalities access grant funding for their water resource projects. These kinds of projects can bring unique challenges. Watershed boundaries usually don't coincide with your municipal boundaries. The solution to your stormwater or stream erosion problem may really lie upstream in a neighboring municipality, and that can lead to a little more complicated project. Fortunately, because we do work at that watershed scale, Isaac is already familiar with the funding for these kinds of programs and the contacts and the grant processes. He can provide the required coordination you would need to bring in the partners, the logistics. He's got relationships with your neighbors, with stormwater conservation district staff, county planners, highway staff, etc. So while initially these projects can be more complicated, they can also come with some benefits that you may not have expected. You might have more long-lasting and cost-effective solutions because you're now working where the problem really lies. It'll be an opportunity for cost savings, perhaps, by sharing staff or expertise. And you might even realize some unexpected benefits. Let's say you're not the municipality with a stormwater problem, and now you've partnered to help move something forward. This will give you an opportunity maybe to do something that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten to do and get some funding for, say, floodplain reconnection, raising public awareness, etc. So the other thing that we do is we partner with neighboring watersheds. So for example, here in Dryden, part of the town is in the Owasco watershed and part of it is in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Isaac can and he does work on projects that cross watershed boundaries. This can provide water quality improvements that benefit your entire municipality, not just that that's in the Cuba Lake watershed, or even potentially multiple municipalities. It also allows CLEO to apply for larger pots of funding, and that can result in a bigger positive impact in the watershed. I'm going to turn it over to Isaac, and he can talk a little bit about that work and some other projects he's working on.
Yeah, so this is just a quick overview of some of the stuff we have going on now, and some of these projects point to what Roxy was just talking about, where we cross watershed boundaries. So the first example of that is a countywide ditch survey in Seneca County, and we're partnering with the Seneca Lake Intermunicipal Organization on that. So that spans obviously two watersheds in the Seneca and Cuba Lake watershed. We'll provide an inventory of ditches and culverts in the county, and the plan with that is to once we're finished with the survey part of that, we'll go after implementation funding for problem culverts and ditches. Along that same line, we just received a grant from Department of State to do planning and design work for small stormwater systems in multiple towns throughout both the Seneca and Cuba Lake watersheds. That's also in collaboration with SWIO. We're working with Cuba County Soil and Water currently on a large shoreline stabilization project in the village of Cuba. They're the lead on that. They got the grant, but that project was brought forward by CLIO. And lastly, we're working on a grant for live edge plow blades with Seneca County Soil and Water to fund the county, live edge plow blades for each town in the county. I'll turn it back over to Roxy.
All right, so now I'll go over our change in our membership dues. So to provide sustained funding for a watershed manager, in 2022, CLIO developed a new fair funding formula. And we initially considered two different funding goals, 90,000 and 130,000. And it was, of course, easier, hopefully, to achieve the 90,000 first. So that was what we settled on. Since that time, there have been increases in New York State minimum wage requirements, and we're no longer able to meet it at that $90,000 level. So without making any changes to the fair funding formula, we simply moved to the funding goal of 130,000. So this will allow CLIO to provide a competitive wage to retain someone with the local knowledge of our water resources and experience submitting grants and obtaining funds. It also will provide us some limited funds for special projects should we need to do some GIS modeling or some mapping, or if we need some administrative support for a small project. And we are also hoping to have a small pool of matching funds. For example, for soil and water projects where a private landowner may not be able to come up with their portion and a project just might be stalled out. We're hoping to help those move forward. So to achieve that new funding goal, we're asking for this increase in dues, phasing it in over 3 years. Your portion of the total goal is 5.7%. Your 2025 dues were $3,649. The dues for this year be $3,948. 2027 be $4,441, and 2028 to achieve that full funding goal is $4,935. We do expect that we'll be able to maintain that for a while because we are already getting some of the salary offset with grant funding, and we expect to increase that grant funding offset. So what do you get for your dues? You get a voting seat at the meetings. So you help identify and prioritize activities and annual priorities, speakers, training opportunities, letters of support that we might send out, or public comments we might make on proposed legislation, etc. I have Dave Sprout as your representative. I don't know that you have an alternate person. I would encourage you to appoint one if you can find someone who is willing to do that. We like to have enough folks that you can vote and that you're not missing out on some of the information at the meetings. So you also get a voice in state policy and regulatory proposals through direct access to lawmakers. They attend 1 or 2 of our meetings each year. They talk about their proposals that are in front of the legislature, and they listen to your input on whether this will really work, on the ground, the way it's written, and you get to suggest changes that would make it work better and still achieve their goals. We're trying to offer trainings at least once a year for your municipal board members. So that's a benefit. And then we also are often doing updates on new science for the best management practices or new funding sources or new legal processes. Most importantly, your membership supports having a full-time watershed manager. His primary job, again, is to help you access funding for water resource projects. He can help with all phases, from problem identification all the way through. You've got the grant now, the project is going. You've got a question about how to administer the grant at this point. And don't forget, he is less expensive than your full-time staff person, and he's far less expensive than hiring a consultant. So again, wrapping up, I want to thank you for giving us time on your agenda. Please consider appointing an alternate representative joining us at our March 25th meeting from 3 to 5. It's going to be about state funding, and it's on Zoom. And I'll end on this note. The best way to benefit from your membership dues is to have Isaac write you a grant.
Thank you.
Any grant?
Really.
You have any questions for us?
Thank you for coming.
Thank
It's in a discussion earlier today about HABs in Hugo Lake. And I just wanted to get your take on what's happening with the action plan put out by the DEC a few years ago. Was it altered by the TMDL that came out even more recently? And who's really in charge of implementing that? Is there a role for Cleo there?
Yes. So DEC's perspective, if you look on the inside page of the HABs action plan, it'll list several organizations that helped develop it, and Cleo's one of them. DEC's perspective is that those folks on that list are responsible for implementing it. That we really aren't geared towards doing that. But having said that, with the TMDL out, Isaac is working on an implementation plan. We just met today to fine tune some of our ideas about what to have in that and guide municipalities on what is the best fit for BMPs for the watersheds in your municipality moving forward. And in that, we will also be putting suggestions in for what the state can do to help us achieve the goals that were set in the TMDL, making sure that there's sustained adequate funding to keep the water quality standards where we want them to get. And then your first question was, did the TMDL change anything in the action plan? It did not. It was supposed to.
That's what I thought.
If you read the action plan several times, it says that it's a generic plan and that the TMDL will give you more specificity, and it did not.
So why hasn't DEC followed up? I guess that's where I'm going with this. This came out. The action plan was 2018.
18, yeah.
And then we got TMDL 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is there any awareness of this at the state level?
It's been in several organizations' comments on the plan, so I'm sure they're aware. I think the best answer is that they don't have very many people. So they just eventually decided to close out the document. But that won't help us actually achieve the water quality goals. So that's going to be in our suggestions on the implementation plan as well, back to the state. That have to have adequate staff that they can actually provide technical support or help with the implementation plan.
I just think, and I'm sure most of us know, there are days of the summer where you can't go in the lake.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, impact on the public use of the water and impact on tourism. And I know we've all got skin in the game. We don't have lakefront property here in Dryden, but we know we're contributors. But I guess for us, what would be asked of the town of Dryden? It's not clear, or it'll just be voluntary suggestions. Or will there ever be a hard ask?
In the TMDL, most of the reduction is looked for on agricultural lands, largely because that's the largest land use in the watershed, and so it's the largest source. But that's voluntary. Any of the work they do there.
Is any of that things that would be appropriate on the zoning or no?
Yes, you can adapt your zoning to be more and more water resource friendly. You could have a water district overlay. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, we've had discussions
Yeah.
about it here, and planning boards heard that.
So putting on my City of Ithaca hat, I was here a couple of years ago, I think, with a build out study that we did for 6 Mile Creek.
Yeah.
And it looked at zoning and what you could have that would enhance protection from our perspective, 6 Mile Creek. But whatever enhances that watershed would be applicable to all of your water resources. And at the time, you were doing a review of your zoning and your codes.
You still are.
You still are, okay.
Yeah.
So you have those recommendations that are specifically focused on water resources, and it was indicated to me that what you were getting feedback from your consultant was very similar. So yeah, I would encourage you to move forward with that. As far as Creo's role, we talked about that some today. I think we will really highlight working with municipalities who aren't necessarily MS4s and having them look at some stormwater, codes or zoning or just practices if they don't have zoning, to be more uniform and more protective. Look at how they handle development so that we're all on the same page. But it is still voluntary.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest point, right?
Yeah.
Is that the state is always going to kick things back to local jurisdictions and local agencies and organizations that maybe aren't as equipped to handle it as they necessarily could be, or as the state should be. And some of that I think is the state not wanting to actually regulate, right? I mean, the TMDL is supposed to be it's a regulatory document. There's no enforcement. It's not enforceable as it stands now, or, compared to other TMDLs, like you look at the Chesapeake Bay TMDL, is a much more enforceable document and has rules with it that are enforced by the DEC or DEP in Pennsylvania,
Right.
and, state agencies. And so that's kind of an inherent flaw with our TMDL and HAP's action plan too.
So it requires a little more frequent visiting to keep it front of mind so that when you take these major steps as a municipality and lay down, your comprehensive plans and enact them, that water resources are always kind of front of mind. You can't keep everything in front of mind. So we'll be here to try and keep the water in the front.
Sure.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, then it was April. Okay, well, we can swing right into the resolutions. So. I know there was a request during TC3 to forgive late penalties. Payment, I guess what happened was they made a payment to the village for their sewer fees, but it should have come to us. Village, instead of just, they wrote it out. Right. They're just requesting a waiver.
How much is that?
$1,490. Not Pete Hickson. Monsters.
Yeah.
I'm buying lobsters for the machine. Yeah, I think this is the sort of situation.
Is it one entity more than others? How many?
It's, we mean like.
How many people are? It's just 4 accounts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is a weird situation. So I'll go with their way of forgiveness. Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next up. Resolution. More work on the full permits by Danella. These are on the Caroline portion of the MIP project. These.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next one is. There's a construction change order authorization for the Dryden Fire area. $21,250. Move this.
So this could affect my service. I might think it's soon.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Advantage on my street. Oh,
I see them all over town. Not my driveway.
next one. Series of purchases through MIP and non-MIP anchors. Not boat anchors. Fiber anchors.
Am I this one?
Yeah, there's some that are MIP and then there's some non. So it's, we're doing both parts. Second,
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
yes. The next one's a resolution authorized Dryden Fiber executive director to sign this one for underground construction 431 Castle.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. And next is a resolution to appoint Connor Hills as Dryden Fiber account manager. What was that?
For Dave.
We got to,
It's really good. I'll move it.
second,
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
yes. And just
So the state of that says.
to resolve that the town board appoints Connor Hills to the position of account. Start date March 2nd, pay rate. 6 p.m. Schedule. And then next we have Christina, did you want to do this one?
Can I do? Okay.
Yeah.
There was an additional, this is for the appointment of members to the Veterans Committee, there are three listed. Cole Kraus, Daniel McGuire, Alan Davis, and then we seeking the ballot today, Brad Mark here. So, three of them are vets, one is a vet advocate and man, so I'd like to move that in my own board.
So. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
How about the water butterflies? Yes.
Yeah,
I got it like.
I saw it, but I just, it was in between. Spaces.
What, you don't need to do it. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, just,
So basically the group is asking us to sign on to show support for the water butterfly organization. And by signing on, we agree to do two. Actually, was it two?
those were three steps. One is,
Resolution. And there were other activities like sponsoring a seed swap. And then the public education for butterfly habitats to encourage that. Yeah, so we have to agree that we'd like to do.
probably.
Or do we, or do we sign on to it, sign on to it? And I think to show support, we have to do that. Yeah. So if we want to wait 2 minutes, or if you guys want to discuss. I know we got like 3 emails.
Yeah, I found there's one,
But did you find one?
it's from Linda Hunter. That's one directly to me.
Oh,
Sponsor maintain a public communication. It's engaged in community garden groups. Just think about- Mowing. You guys all have this. now?
yeah.
Just gonna, would somebody on the conservation board oversee this?
Yeah. So I figure out who's gonna do what. We're gonna say we're gonna do something.
Who's, when's the next meeting?
It's the end of the month. So. Yeah, we would just get it in writing. Otherwise, we do it. And then,
They might not appreciate that.
or we,
Guess what? We volunteered in your committee. Yeah, what? But. I would. Spring, do you want to run this by them and see if we can buy in and we can
I'll
pass
have a
this?
little email and we'll pass it next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is the? Me or Mike said that. There's the one, because I think everybody saw the letter we got. Well, this Saturday's thing's not happening. So,
Still going.
yeah,
Session.
yeah. Yeah, so. Yeah, because we gotta figure out a reply. Just to the letter. It's got some implications. Especially when they start talking about attorneys. Right, so. Yeah. Information we received.
So we're discussing the contract.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know, because
We already signed contracts.
yeah, but
We don't have a contract. For that.
That's why we're gonna go talk about it in executive session.
I understand that there are certain things that we should discuss in executive session, so I'm not clear about the town, what says town law about. Whether we. Exactly,
Is this about,
exactly.
is this just about that email that we received? Cause that said they were just gathering their thoughts and they still wanted to have it.
yeah, but I think that's.
There were requests for funds for council, things that didn't quite match up. Well, in the email, they didn't quite match up with previous meetings. Well, I know like when we did the budget meetings, we did agree to have Ms. Peters like really like Ms. Peters. So I think that's all they were. You would want to see options. Yeah, so somebody like who has extensive fire district experience.
But did we actually say we are going to pay for them?
But we were gonna have a meeting. We were, the whole idea was we were gonna have a collaborative meeting to even understand what we're talking about, so we could start developing a plan. And know to show up.
Well, they had the letter say clear that. You mean for the winner? Huh?
Right, they didn't come, but we never had a meeting with them.
Yeah.
That was the meeting. The meeting, it was, so it could only be 2 people because we weren't inviting the public. So you can only have 2 council people from the town board there.
Who
So
was,
Jason and Dan had, I think there was all sorts of people invited and the chiefs and the chairs from Dan explained it in our last meeting. There were chairs coming from all the fire districts and it was all scheduled and then they didn't show up.
And then,
And this is the morning of the meeting.
well, the meeting was scheduled for this Saturday.
Yeah, but this Saturday, the only reason they asked to postpone it is because they spent thousands of dollars on the training. They would schedule it last year.
But we went over that
But
last month.
they could reschedule the guy, so I mean, we spent thousands of dollars for it.
You were here, you might not have been, here, but we brought that up with the chiefs and we said, we were scheduled this thing twice, really want to schedule it a 3rd time. Can you send somebody? And all agreed, yes,
Yeah.
we'll go forward with 14.
Yes,
So, you know, that's on the record. That they said we could keep the 14.
well, the reason they don't want to have this meeting is because all of their leaders have signed up for this training and they paid thousands of dollars for this guy to come scheduled last year. So I think we should let them go to this
Christina,
meeting.
if that were true, they would have told us not to hold the meeting. Because I gave them that opportunity. And we said, we'd really like to keep this because we had to line these people up 2 times previously.
Well, the other,
And so they asked, and they said, well, we'll send one person, Pete Tyler, Mike Parker, Mason, Jager, were all there. And so they'll come because it was for their members. Leadership. And they agreed to come. Yeah, look at that.
The other thing in the letter says that they didn't just want to Jason, they wanted everybody, but then it's not a meeting just for them. But we did it with the strategic plan. So there's only people. Yeah.
Well, it has to be a publicly noticed meeting.
Yeah, and it has to be a strategic plan. More than 2 partners. We were meeting if we were all attending something similar to versus Lisbon. There's a big.
So it's publicly, somebody from the public could have attended.
But I agree,
Were you at the strategic plan?
yeah, but we would, and which is, we just learning.
There were 3. Well, then we probably shouldn't have done that.
And that might
But
be
it was
what
public,
they-
I think it was public. Okay.
Pay by the minute.
That is good.
Thank you.
You know, having done an executive session close to 3 hours. Yeah. Hopefully this isn't gonna be. Endearing. So that we were. So that's. Not like we have any interest. No, the first one. Oh, okay. No, so the conference space is different than. The living. Yeah, but it's still a fire alarm. We're in the building. Oh, it's pretty. Well. Yeah, I have so, Six, 8 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So. There's a really good, he walks out there, positive. We walk up to, I love it. This is possible. I watch you. Yeah, we just. Yeah, on Sunday, we got across. Which I missed, but even if I don't, well, even if I plan on it. Well, that's such good. Yeah, but, yeah,
That's the succession. The main reasons that is somebody. Oh, yes. There's a blended food plan, which is new because it used to be a good mix. And I don't know the full story of that, but you know, the way that works, it's, oh yeah, we don't mix it, we just meet at the same time in the same place. And we use the same food. And sometimes we go to the same outlets. Yes. Or if they stop sharing and say, hey, forget it. Going to the cluster of girls dance and the cluster of boys dance. And that's always in the blended group, gonna be, I think one. A lot of that. Why people get all of you? You know, the students gonna be like that. Girls go out on the second, boys go out on the fourth. They use the same gear. And probably a lot of 48 students, they just happen to be. And there's a lot of cross registrations, people they well. Oh, and by the way, we like the same out. For Scott. We would have been once. Yeah, boys left girls got to come. And then we know this. On the town, but it's a good enough stuff. Easiest. But the requirements for startup is be active in the group, show performance, be active in the group, become a service position for domestic goals, do some service work, earn a whole bunch of merit. Earn a bunch of merit. Earn a bunch of merit. There's government. I mean, you can tomorrow, earn a bunch of merit. Star is the easiest way to get first class and just wait 4 months as long as you're just. I mean, let's doing that. Some more reliable. Yeah. And the road that is for building stuff. About something like part of the trip and so about the motive is like well, that you know that's true. So different. Oh yeah. Very church. This is kind of. You know what, 20 years happened. It's got me. It's in rare. Get off of that, like, the TV. So very rarely we do this stuff. Kids are. Changing back. That's it. I haven't sat down at the TV. I'm thinking of Jeff. He asked about where we. Oh, it's here. So we got off. You know, all the other kids follow. A big wall. And the geezers caught up with them. They were. Where are we? Where are we? We are here. We got to go. We got to go. Continue, so we it's so long. The percentages that step in, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, it's that, I really, it's not. Well, that's, thing you say. Okay, well, you know, that's a wonderful things that. Well, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I learned. The house. I'm gonna. Deal with. Other students. Academics. It's all the things that are going on. Of course, you know, if I learn stuff. I learn these people. So, when you see. And I took that part of it. Things that happen. About getting those skeleton. Yeah. Yeah. There's a. There's a lot of. Well, yeah, probably actually. Pretty close on. Yep, yeah, there's a few things. Standing. Oh, it actually happens. For those who. The sounding. I think what's happened is. It's something. Because the upper fall, no, was bridge. This one. You keep walking, you keep walking, walk on it instead of fall. So something. Not at all. His office is very good. Everybody got pulled by the last 3 days. That was nice. That's gonna be the way to talk. So, you know, there's some kind of room. I'm not. Moderate success. That's success. When they able to. When they got food. So now they just need to turn the finish the. That three. 2 3 of the. It's been 3 years of close. But what I want. You. Subsequent watch. You can tell it looking at the nature of. We get the. No. Once you get going, keep saying the future. Didn't know that we had something to do with this. Because they're different. Nature. It does not always be true. That's the wrong thing. And we're not having a problem. So first, I'm gonna give- They want blueberries too. When they get their share, you can- Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. They should prove it. Yeah. Those who are still breathing, they're staying on the planet. She gets some spirit. But one of the ways girls. They break them. Not all bears, it's not, it's not. But the area itself. The side that's facing the some areas means. Because it looks like a great area. So it's somebody. There you go. Not just being put what's together. There's a few things that look at that. You don't know you. I support the exchange. Most of the prostate. Problems. Pretty geographic. Once you go to each house. So, but this likewise. Good, I'm very happy to be that you're involved. Bless you, support you, go for it. Need something from me, let me. It's, yeah, but I was trying to. Yeah. Get up, calendar, everything we need. I don't know about, yeah, so, yeah, no, it's. Oh. So your responsibility is to build. It's a small laundry, but. Is the network on the environment? Do you know that when the network doesn't exist yet? Supposed to be part of there. It's got to go to the monitor, that building, or that amount of this. Yeah, so there's a lot of things. Just available. Then we gotta figure out the security, but before we do. We need to do that. Forward. I'm watching the network. In honor of yeah, I figured out the stuff. Let's go. Okay, good. So completely on the fire. Okay, everything, it's done. Let's plug it in. What port is it? None of it's labeled yet. The crew hasn't come back up. So we're guessing the ports. And we got most of it. But there isn't most. Yes. Historically, like the power is, I think the same job. I did everything, get the screwdriver out, put them up to security side of the immune system. So, Yeah. But what was happening is a lot of that is. There's a lot of people who didn't. There's not a whole lot of people. Well, we're working hard. Really glad there's a reason. The law system. I'm doing. Really don't work in it's I'm able to stuff. Are you working with us? Or for the construction? Oh, yeah, we have some. It will work. The reality is. On my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi because. But it'll just spin. I'll refresh. Wait. 45, 10, 15 seconds. And for the most part, no, and I think we take care of it. It's not the point where I appreciate the Steve to get the better deal, but I'm constantly right all the time. It's never forgetting. Oh, look at that. I think there's
We're done.
Oh,
Yeah. We have people. Okay. All right, so we're back from executive session. We discussed fire district issues and received advice from our town attorney. And the only action we're taking is to draft a response to a letter from 3 fire departments. We all did it together with the attorney on talking about issues that were raised. That's going to go out tomorrow as a response, but otherwise no other action was taken. But now Dan Wakeman's here, can give us his update. If you want. And then we can wrap it up on that. Yeah, certainly we kind of took a half hour.
So you know I don't have anything like written out and prepared for you, right? And you just get the off the cuff. So county, what's going on with the county? Couple of highlights. We did just fill our chief equity and diversity officer position. Leon Holden, I had a chance to meet him. Seems like a really fantastic guy. We are proceeding with the center of government. That has been a big.
Where is he from? You're.
He's local.
Oh.
He don't know the answer to that. I should know the answer to that. But he's had a different position locally. You know Travis Brooks, right? Yeah, I guess he's had worked with Travis for quite some time. So, but no, it seems like a great guy. Thank you for asking. What I do, hang on, I might have some information on that for you. Maybe not. I guess I don't. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do. Or not. It just says that we find him highly qualified and we appoint him. There's more to that, but I don't have in front of me, Dan.
The press release.
He came from Family and Children's Services.
Thank you.
Because I think that some of the other directors were kind of not crazy about life in this part of the world. It was different, and we lost it all just because
Yeah.
to this.
This is our third officer, and I understand the first two CEDOs were very different from each other.
They were great. I like
Okay.
those a lot.
I had no experience with them, and so there was some crack that's laid down, and I think of it was, I remember being described as the first officer set all this framework, the second officer set all this framework, and now Leon's going to have that to work with, because it's both frameworks are good, very different, but both frameworks were good. So that's what I know. I'll get to know him better because I'm on the government operations committee, and he will be showing up there. We are continuing with the central government. As is no surprise, I think with all of the new legislators on board, they wanted to learn about this. And I reminded everybody that despite all of the time and the exercise of going through this, the current legislature decided it was successfully decided on several things. We decided that we didn't want, right? We decided that we didn't want to go to Herald Square. We decided we did not want to go to the mall. We decided we did not want to go up to Brown Road. And now we're talking about what we're going to build. And a couple of options were put forth. There was a very tight vote, and we ultimately wound up back with the resolution from last year. And that's what we're going by right now. So, okay. Let's see, what else have I got here? We have established the Human Rights Program Manager position, which is not a director. And we think that that is the way to go. I don't have all of the rationale on that. I do understand that some changes were made at the state level, which kind of took the need for all of the director responsibilities away. So the administration and Human Rights Commission got together and said, why don't we do this? So we have a human rights manager position available, and they're looking at filling that. If it works out, the county will have to go back through and adjust our charter.
So they downgrade the position from executive
A little bit,
to
if you consider it that, but yeah.
no, it is downgrade.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this, because I'm not sure they haven't spelled out what that position is except for some functions. Okay, but the executive director originally was a lawyer. Okay, so now a program manager is not a lawyer.
It's not
a lawyer.
a lawyer, thank you. Yep.
Okay, so they downgrade the position to, with the last executive director, to anyone who could do managerial, managerial functions. Now they downgrade the position itself, which means also, a less of a salary that the executive director.
Yeah.
To a program manager person who is literally doing some outreach and some educational program, which are not clear to me yet. The downgrade also implied, perhaps, that whatever it is, it was required before for the executive director, is no longer required. Okay. And in terms of education,
In terms of education, in terms of job description, in terms of legal matters, and
I assume that is not going to be taken by a critical administrative person, the program manager position.
well, it needs to be filled. It's not somebody we've got already. I mean, unless it's somebody we promote.
That's what I'm afraid.
That's what you're afraid of. You would rather have it.
Some critical manager, administrative person there is going to be, sort of invited to the. But anyway, more importantly, is that, in my opinion, it is quite important, given the political environment in which we live, that the Office of Human Rights be more like more powerful office that it is at the moment, and a program manager won't do that.
I'm acknowledged. I'm jotting this down. And one of the things I'll ask here in a minute is if there's anything that you want me to take back to the legislature, and this is one of those things, okay? Okay, I've got a note here, Leonardo. I'm not super versed on this, but I believe the reason the position's been open is a certain function has been pulled by the state. I'm gonna have to check on that for you.
That is, but what happened in the last 10 years, the secretary director, that most of the legal work that was happening in that office was stripped out, and it was transferred to the regional office in cities.
So, yeah, there was no need to have, because of this position, the director couldn't do those things. It didn't make sense to refill that position. Yeah.
And the thing is that precisely when the political environment in which we live demands something more sort of, out of an organization, and this is being reduced to practically an office that
What I'm, well, there's a certain amount we can and can't do, but what I'm hearing from you is one way or another, we need somebody who needs to be sharply on top of this and press hard for what needs to occur at the regional office, for example. So. Or try to pull it back. I mean, I've got the note here. I'll make some discussion on that. Okay. Continuing here. Other minor things, we signed an easement with them we authorized the administrator to sign an easement with NYSEG for a transformer access at the airport property for a fast charging station. Listening to a couple of people, there are not that many true fast chargers in the area. There's hardly any. Yeah. Okay. What else have I got here? What's this?
Don't a lot of people have them at home, like, are we talking about?
Not fast chargers.
Well,
not fast.
there's the level 1, level 2, and then the.
This would be like high, this is, there, and apparently even on level 3, there's level 3 chargers and there's really level 3 chargers. And the hope is to get the top end.
There's something higher than level 3.
Well, apparently some of the Tesla ones that are down by, I guess, down by BJ's, down by. There's a whole bank of them. Yeah. Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, that's what it was.
I use level 2, and that's like 4 hours.
Yeah. But apparently those at Trader Joe's are not as fast as they could be, which is what the discussion was. And the ones that are behind the hotel, right just down the road, are not even as fast as Tesla ones. Yeah. And then they have 2 at the dealership. The McGuire that work half the time. And some of them, there's 2 of them, but that's it. You've got them. It's all mapped out. Okay, so I don't know, but you would be the beneficiary then to be able to plug in and get 20 minutes and get, well, as long as you need to get around behind the part where I got to. No, there was discussion of that too, and that was the original thought there. And it's not behind. It's not in the airport parking. It's actually down the other side of the sheriff's office, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, that's helping people traveling through. Yes. Yes. Bank some Watkins. Well, it's certainly easily accessible because you don't have to get in and out of the parking lot. Because if the airport parking was going to be a thing, there was a request to waive the first 30 minutes or first hour or whatever it is for anybody that's got your receipt for charging or whatever. I don't know. But that's not an issue because that's not where it's going to go. That was the spot where it was originally planned. This, by the way, this is a push of a project from last year. Yeah. It was originally planned there, but for whatever reason, the electrical infrastructure wouldn't have worked, so they had to move it. But this is certainly easily accessible. It's right off of road there. You can't stay at the road. Yeah. A lot of them put idling fees if you stay over a certain period of time. Yeah, because they want to have that highly available to people. Yeah. Right. The twos are good for home and destination ones. Like the ones we have here, like maybe it's home. Okay, so that's that. The assessment office is moving to Dutch Mill Road. They're really excited about it actually, because they get parking for people that come in. They have a little bit more space, so they're really excited about the move. Unlike Kofa, Kofa's not excited about the move, for good reason too, because for them, their access to auxiliary services that they're related to is very, very local downtown. Was at the other presentation of the emergency shelter design earlier this week. Very, very initial draft on that, but something there to go up there. That's a 28-29 project. And the other thing that's going on right now, we had a meeting on Monday night regarding the situation at the Asteri.
county's picking up some services there. There's a whole, I guess what, 100 and something like that, 180 apartments, something like that. There's a lot, they're going all full. But there's a lot of people that are displaced, and it's a set of people for displacement that's difficult. I mean, you and I get bumped out of our house, we'll figure it out, right? The people that are being displaced, this is really hard. Belongings are inside, they don't know how long they're going to be gone. They're now at a different location. How do they get back and forth to work if they've got it? You know, so there's a fair amount of interfacing that the county is doing. Yeah, so that's what's going on. What do you have questions for me, or do you have anything for me to take back that you want me to? I've already got one from Leonardo.
Well, the one question I have is, the city, I guess they're pulling back from their flock cameras to the county.
The county tightened up their flock camera. The sheriff tightened it up many weeks ago, like right after the first of the year. The restrictions are super tight. We're still running them. We are considering what we can do about them, but the question is whether or not we lose the rest of the grant for the other parts of the GIFT program. So,
Does he know what the data, like, I think that everyone talk about, the concern is it's less about what the county does with it, it's more about what's flock sharing it with. The county doesn't actually want them to share it with because they never gave them permission to share it. Well, I don't know what the contracts say, but I know the practice of that company is to aggregate things from public and private sources together to give to whoever's going to have the money. That's pretty much it. So,
yeah, I have not made the time to a brain space to read through the contract.
yeah, I mean, it's something the county executive should probably have the county attorney look at. But
And the city actually has a lot more cameras than the county has.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that give money, the give grant money comes through the county and largely lands at the city for their programs, I guess. So, we have to be in collaboration there.
It does seem odd that we can't have real light cameras. But we can have. So that seems very odd.
they're very different. Like,
I'm just saying.
and it's also, we've had, I don't like red light cameras either.
I like.
I don't, because I lived in Maryland when they put them in, and so there were a lot of rear end accidents of people.
Yeah.
A lot of
Death. Oh.
the accident toll went up. I'm just saying, like, when it came in at first, people were so freaked out. You'd have even at 30 miles an hour on the piece of, East West thing. It was not
Take it
good.
over.
So, I'm not a fan of police states stuff.
No.
Like Washington DC is terrible for that.
It just seems odd we didn't want it.
Well, the thing is, like, when you had the red light ones, it was limited to that. Flock sells cameras to, like, homeowners associations, to Lowe's, Target, whatever. And then they gather all that up and merge it with everything else. And sometimes they're doing it without telling people because no one reads the contracts. And or if they want them there, it's just like when you check in, you get this stuff popping up on your phone, agree to the terms, tell me you read the terms, because I know you're not. And it's the same thing. And then it goes everywhere that they didn't intend it to go to. And all of a sudden, and it's used for all kinds of things like marketing, surveillance, whatever. That's how lawyers find people who are messing around with family court cases or whatever else. So we can tap into that too if we want. And it's like, that's not the intent for, like, the county even wanting them, which is what I'm saying. Like, the intent the county wants them for is one good reason. But if it gets the information's put out there, the things that we didn't intend, the county should be exerting control over the information it's asking to gather, and not let the company control that that's the point I think the privacy folks have. It's like you need to be able to control, like you're doing it for a specific purpose. But you should be able to control that. Just like I think most people don't, like when that's why they flipped out about the dog search for your dog thing on Amazon. I mean, because they didn't.
People didn't realize they'd given permission.
Well, they
Yeah,
didn't realize it.
used, yeah.
Well, but you've also had problems with like Alexa and all the other things in your house where people, it's literally must, like a data center that's gonna go in Lansing. Could be storing your conversation from your house if you have the wrong thing, and that's where they decide to store it. So, but that's the stuff that people don't understand. It's like, it's not even, like you don't know that these things are going on and other people have access to stuff that you can't imagine. And that's the part that's freaking the public out.
Yeah.
They're finally starting to realize it, even though it's been,
It's not.
you've been tracked since you used your first Visa card 20 years ago. But now people are waking up to it that it's not just your Visa card, it's everything else that's happening.
You walk around,
Or even your Easy Pass.
easy pass.
So you can,
Mhm.
and yeah, this thing too, like you
Yeah.
know, Faraday bag, good luck.
Yeah, all your cell towers, to use this thing has to be geolocated. If you have a cell repeater, a frontal cell that you install, it has to have a GPS signal in order to work, because these have to be geolocated.
Yeah, but the difference is that for like even the FBI, if they want to look at that data, they gotta get a warrant. But if they can buy it, the issue has been going on courts is going around that to just purchase it from Flock.
So that's
And then
what,
to commit to do surveillance without, just like, I don't like what I heard that person say. I'm gonna buy all their data from here and see what they like to read, where they've been, and all this stuff. And then you associate, and then people get made guilty by association.
that's what is happening, with the information that ICE is using.
And it's been happening forever too, like even back in, countries in Eastern Europe, they did it before all this, but now it's really easy to do because you have computers that are fat, thousands of computers back in the 80s, 90s.
In my field, it's called open source intelligence, and it's been around for decades.
Yeah.
Going back to, if you will, Magnum PI,
Yep.
Do the research, find out what you can find about the individual, go find them. It just becomes digital now, and it has been for a long time.
Yeah.
A very long time. It's just, as you say, AI is taking this up a notch. AI, and you mentioned the find your dog thing. Well, jeepers, my dog looks remarkably like a person. I wonder who I can find. So
it's about, so that it's, like I said, it's like we're able to control, like we're by county buying thing for a certain reason, that's fine. You don't want it to be used by somebody else for something else. And I think that's really the issue.
yeah, so we are to circle back here. Derek is aware of this. The county is aware, and we are looking at whether or not that's something we can terminate the contract and still keep the rest of the funding for other parts of the program, because it's all together. And that's unclear at this point. But and as Derek will defend, what we have been using, what the sheriff's office has been using this for, has been useful. And it's a tool that will be lost. That's a tool that's taken away. Not accessible anymore if we go that route. So.
Thanks.
Anything else? All right. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
thank you. All right, have anything else? Adjourn meeting.